welcome again to Wholesale Hotties. I'm your host, Sharon Lee Smith. I'm here with Dada Molinex, Monique Bell, Kate Gomes, and our special guest this evening, Christina Stevens. Hey, Christina, welcome to Wholesale Hotties, where the ladies of real estate are talking all things real estate. How are you today?
Very good, very good. It's a great Thursday, and I'm excited to be here with all of you.
Awesome. We're really excited glad to have you.
Yeah,
sure.
super excited.
Girl, this is our 14th week in a row. I cannot believe it. I'm so excited. We are on a roll. We are amazing for sure. Yes. Christina, can you start by telling us and the audience, obviously, who you are, what you do, and all the good things?
Okay. It's a loaded question. So my name is Christina. I live in Chicago, originally from Michigan. At this point, most of our real estate investment portfolio is actually in Michigan. And so we'll get into that later for sure. I have been a nurse for 20 years, and I took a leadership role in 2020. It burned me right the heck out, and that's actually how I started investing in real estate. And I just essentially have not looked. Oh, I heard. Sounds like a plane.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I was like, oh, this is
that's what happens when you're live. At least it didn't crash.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I was waiting. I thought it was maybe one of those like fancy graphics, and there was just gonna like be an airplane that went across the
screen in my backyard. But you might see a rocket launch. I am on the Space Coast, so
that's amazing. I love it.
Hi, Christina. Back to you.
I was like, oh, it's not it's because often it's me that has all the sounds. But yeah, I'm so glad it was somebody else this time.
I did just find my mute button though, in case that happens.
Just in case. Very good. I love it. But yeah, so I just started investing in I say just, but in 2021. My wife and I both listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad, free on YouTube. I'm happy to send anybody the link that wants it, because most people are like, oh, I have to buy an Audible credit or something like that. No, literally can listen to it for free on YouTube. And I have
you don't need to buy it.
What'd you say?
He's made enough money on the book. We don't need to buy it anymore.
There it is. Yeah. But he talks about a one-legged table being one stream of income, or if you think of like a four-legged table, 4 streams of income, if you knock the one leg out, the table still stands. And literally I went from since I was 22 years old, I've had one stream of income, because that's just what I was taught. One nurse or nurse and one job, all of that. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, I got to get 4 streams of income. Like, how do I do that? I'm not sure, but I'm going to figure it out, And now between my wife and I, we have 14 streams of income.
Holy smokes.
Wow, that's amazing.
So can you name them all off the top of your head? Go.
Oh gosh. So we count each property as its own stream of income because they're all doing great, right? So I'm very proud of that. We have 10. And then my wife has a Pilates business. She also has Moon and Stars Journals, a paper products business. I do healthcare IT consulting, so that's one of them. And then she also works for a Pilates studio in Michigan outside of her own business.
Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Goodness.
Yes.
Awesome. Yep. You guys are busy.
Yeah. Yes. We don't idle. I'm probably speaking for all of us. None of us probably idle very well, right?
I think that's how we got here.
That's how we got here. This is why we're all sitting on YouTube live stream right now. Yes, or yard.
So you have 10 properties. Let's get into that. How did this happen? What do you do with them? What's your stream of income when it comes to those properties?
Yeah, absolutely. So I again been a nurse for 20 years. Before I went back to grad school, I travel nursed from 2008 to 2010, and there was a time where I literally drove from Michigan to California without a furnished property to live in, because this was pre-Airbnb, or at least pre-me knowing Airbnb. This was pre-Furnished Finder, right?
Right.
So I went out, stayed in a hotel, and literally just drove around until I could find a property, apartment complex that had any kind of furnished housing. So very stressful. And so when we decided to invest in real estate, midterm just seemed to be the right answer. It's something I already could identify with because I needed it. And it gives me an opportunity to, well, the vision was to house traveling healthcare. I will tell you, 3 years in this business, we've had one nurse for 1 month in 3 years. Everybody else has been something completely different.
And are you buying in places near the Trauma One hospitals that you expect?
So here's what I will say is, especially now in this like post-COVID era, they're not making the same money for housing, or just period, they're not making the same money. So the first property we bought was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and unless they're traveling with their spouse or kids or their pets, something like that, they don't want a 3-bedroom house. They want a 1-bedroom or a studio. You know, they're working all the time. So hindsight is 2020, right? But with that said, we have had engineers, contractors, electricians, people renovating their house and don't want to live in construction zone. And then more recently, now that I've like learned how to work smarter instead of harder, we do a lot of insurance claims. So I would say usually on average about 50% of our properties are insurance claim relocations. Yeah.
So I've been curious about how to really find those people.
I have a Google sheet, more than happy to share with anybody. I share it with anybody that we ever talk about midterm or short term. But actually, I don't remember what episode it was, but I saw that you also interviewed Amy Rendy Lozen.
Yeah. Yes.
So Amy is actually the one that started that spreadsheet, and I've now since added to it.
Oh, wow.
So again, small world. Amy and I knew each other before Sub 2, before Owners Club.
Wow.
And both from Michigan. She lives in the same like city, neighboring, well, same school district, but like Plymouth Canton. She lives in one of the towns. I grew up in the other. And we met when we were both planning to flip houses, and our life has very much changed in 3 years of that. Our flip turned into a burr, we kept it, we turned into our first midterm, and now she's obviously doing some really big stuff too. So but she started it and I've run with it. I've added more websites and all of that, but the best way I would say is to get on all of those databases, and then whenever they search the city or the town that you're in or have properties near, they'll reach out to you. They also sometimes, not always, will reach out on Airbnb. It's pretty infrequent, and then Furnish Finder is another good spot for it.
It sounds like a lot of work.
That's a really good collaboration too. It just goes to show, working with other people, we're not in competition, we're actually working together.
Absolutely.
And how we help each other is just been amazing. This community, I don't think I've ever had anything that I've come across since I started my first fix and flip in 2008 until I got involved with this in 2022.
Fix and flip in 2008. That's a big deal too.
Some of us are old, Christina, just so you know.
Yes. Very old. Yes.
So pushing, a higher number out there. We're not going to doing this.
Listen, we can talk about that too.
We talk about anything. So we're like that age just right there. So
no, 2008. Like honestly, if I were in a position, I was, I started grad school in 2010. So if I were in a position to buy when we were going through that recession, I would have 100. And I was smart enough. I wasn't. I was thinking, God, there's probably a lot of people really struggling right now. There's probably also a lot of people making a lot of money right now. I wasn't part of any of it. So I was renting, preparing for grad school, essentially.
When you're buying houses, then do you specifically look for certain areas that and what would that look like to buy for something specifically for midterm rentals? I mean, is it a neighborhood or housing? Like, how big is all the things that go with that you're looking for?
So our first one that was a flipped turn midterm rental. I haven't figured out a fun name for it yet. Like some people talk about Burr and B. It's different. We, full transparency, took a complete leap of faith. We had no idea what we were doing, and thought if it doesn't work as a midterm, then we could look at short term, but we really didn't want to. And if we have to, we'll make it a long term again. It can work as a long term too. And I continue to speak over and over. I was just talking to a friend earlier today that if it doesn't work long term, please be so careful. Like, you really have to know your market to do anything mid or short without knowing that you have a backup plan. Just of
I think that's so key, and a lot of people skip that over. If it doesn't work as a long term, it doesn't make sense to do at all.
Yeah.
The short term or midterm is just icing on the cake.
Correct.
And so it doesn't make sense as long term. It ain't going in my portfolio. That's that, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
Things change. You might have to go to long term, and then if it doesn't make sense, then you're in a bad way. So
exactly.
I have that.
Well, I mean, even just as you said earlier, Christina, about the housing, what nurses are being paid now for housing and stuff has changed in just 2 years or so.
2 years
since COVID, you know.
Yeah.
So even that alone is just not reliable anymore.
Yeah, I mean, really staying nimble is so important, because it really, anything could change, you know. And so then with that property, we just took a leap of faith. Our other property, we honestly planned to make that a long term. We thought it's a like B- C+ neighborhood. This is gonna be a perfect long term, and our cash on cash return as a long term was 22%. So grand slam by all sense of the words, right?
Yeah,
and we hired a property manager. This is when I was still in my leadership role and working a lot. So hired a property manager. They did absolutely nothing for us. We made no money for our first year. So again, like, we're not just going to talk about our successes, right? We're also going to talk about some of our tough times. We've literally made $0 on the house for the first year because of a bad property manager. So another takeaway, please vet property managers. Please make sure you're hiring well, because they will make or break you, really, honestly.
How did you find that one that didn't work out? Like, what made you go?
This is one of those, and I think that probably all of us have some type of experience in this, but he was the one all over social media. I'm amazing. Look at all this.
I do that.
Success. Yeah. And it was, and I went, he had an in-person thing. I went to it. He spoke at some local RIA events. So I was like, oh, he's well-known. Yeah. Nope. The guy
is talking to manage real estate.
Exactly.
What would you do to, maybe the top 3 things they should ask or look at when they are looking for a property manager that might help them?
Good question.
Great question. So I would start with, tell me what your property management team and portfolio looks like. Are you able to handle the amount of properties that you currently have? Are you hiring? Are you, like, what does that look like? Are you able to retain staff? I feel like that's property management is tough, right? And so if you can't retain staff, and then now my property is going without because you can't find property managers, this is a problem. What is the worst thing that you've been through, and how did your team handle it? Who is the person, if I have a problem, who's my direct contact? Because, he was the face. He wasn't necessarily the guy behind the scenes. And also, how long have you been in business? Can you send me some references of people that you do property management for? Because now, of course, right, hindsight, there is an entire group of, I think last time I looked, 1,200 people that all have had some kind of experience, either as a tenant or as a landlord with that property management group.
Oh, wow.
Do they have Google
It's like
reviews?
a whole interview, like you're interviewing people for a job or something.
Right.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. That's actually a good question. I've not looked to see what his Google reviews are. I should. And maybe also leave something.
Definitely.
But the silver lining, right? We always find the silver linings. This is why we're all still entrepreneurs, right? Is we took it back after an eviction, because he did finally put a tenant in, but right away they stopped paying within a month. Hello, puppy. And we went through an eviction. The second that the eviction was through, we fired them, and then decided to furnish that one too, and thought, we're going to take a leap of faith. It works beautifully as a long term, so it's just going to crush it midterm. And within 4 days, we had a what turned out to be almost 15-month corporate contract
Nice.
with an international company. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Right.
And so long-term rental rate would have been about $1,300, and we rented it for $2,500.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Difference.
And you guys manage them all yourselves now that they're midterms?
So I do all the hospitality communication, and I say essentially family owned and operated. My stepdad helps a lot with the maintenance stuff, and he'll go around and change all the Ring camera batteries, the electronic door lock batteries, and so I just pay him a monthly stipend essentially to do all of that. And then if he ever has to do anything bigger than just the maintenance stuff, then I take care of him. My cousin owns a house cleaning business, so she takes care of all of our turns. And then when we were scaling the business last year, my wife initially did the first property of last year. We had the 2 properties that, were stabilized and just doing really well. And then when we took the 3rd property in January of last year, she designed, and then we both installed that one. And, she's also a professional dancer and has her own journal planner business and her Pilates business, and she still works W-2, all that. So finally she was like, this is your dream. So, please have fun.
Here and look cute. You handle this.
Yeah. It was like, no, this is for you. And I love that you love it. I don't love it as much as you. So I actually hired my best friend since 3rd grade to do all of our design and install.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I think that's the number one thing that I am terrible at is design, interior design, matching all the things and whatever.
It took me 8 months to furnish one house. That's
All right, we're gonna put her in the spotlight, and we're gonna talk about this because holy man,
Wow,
8 months.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay, Kate.
Down there, please. What are you doing?
Kate, what you do is you list it, and you see that it books the next weekend, and you've got a week to fill it. Jim and I did a 4-bedroom, 2-bath like that. I'm like, I'm just going to test it and see how it would do for Airbnb. And it booked. And we're like, okay,
Let's
I got
go.
all Aaron's furniture, at least some of the furniture. We bought stuff off of Craigslist and what's that?
Oh my
The
God.
apps.
Marketplace, yeah.
Marketplace, all that. Jim had
So picky. I would buy or order 3 sets of sheets from Amazon and then return 2 of them, or maybe return 3 and then go to a different store and buy another one.
Oh my god.
You put the pressure on yourself, and you don't have a choice. You just do
I'm
it.
hiring somebody if I ever do it again.
Well, my best friend's amazing. I'll send you some of the links of our properties. She does such
And
a
I
good
could
job.
hire you to manage my properties as well.
Perfect. Done.
Also.
Yeah, no, so part of this conversation is just how do you 5x a business in a year, right? And so we did pull in some private money lenders, all friends of ours and people who entrusted us with their money to do good things with it, right? And so one of our first private money lender, actually, great friend. She's also our house inspector for any investment property or a primary residence there for a little bit in Michigan. And she called me on a random Sunday and said, I found this guy. He does what you do. He does arbitrage, because some of our properties last year are all arbitrage. He does arbitrage, and I think I'm going to join his mastermind. And I said, hold on, what is this human's name? Let's talk about this first.
Slow down.
Yeah. So she gives me his name. I've never heard of him. And not to say I'm an expert in, midterm gurus or masterminds, but
Right.
I would like to have at least heard about him at least once. And so I do a little research while we're on the phone. And I said, can I just ask, you're really busy. She's a house inspector. She does sometimes 7 days a week. And so I said, do you have time to just take in evergreen courses and go to his weekly or monthly calls? What's the goal with joining him? She's like, I think what you're doing is really cool. And I said, okay, I have an idea. I'm going to at least throw it out there. You can tell me what you think. And I said, why don't you be one of our private money lenders? I will now make you money in your sleep, so you have a second stream of income. Okay. And I will literally teach you anything you want to know anytime. You can show up. You can come help install things if you want to. It's up to you on our next property. Whatever you want this to look like. We'll have weekly calls. I will tell you all the things that happened that week, all the good, all the bad, and you can ask me anything you want. She was like, oh, I didn't know we could do that. She's like, yeah, okay, let's like send me a contract. Let's go. Literally same day. We had it like all squared away. And so now she's been our permanent lender since the summer. She called me a month ago on a like random Tuesday. She just like FaceTimed me and she's like, I have so I've had a light bulb moment. And I said, tell me all about it. And she said, I don't want to do what you do. It's so much hospitality. Yeah. It's so much making sure guests are happy. That is not me. And I really appreciate the fact that you helped me find that. So I didn't go spend a ton of money with no return on investments to not do it. Yeah. And so she is now going to be a part-time, because she still has a full-time job, fix and flipper. And she loves that. You know, she's a house inspector. She's so good at houses. But she's like, I'm not a people human. Like, that's you. Not me. So, many lessons.
Sometimes
it's so nice to find those people that.
Yeah.
It's so nice when you find those people that we can connect with and do business with and not feel like we're competing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was actually the biggest, when I was in my leadership role, there was so much scarcity within the, hello, you got spotlighted again.
Oh, what happened?
Hey, what did you do?
There. I just love myself that much. I only want to look at myself. No, airplane.
Another airplane. She's like, I tried to mute. Instead, I made myself full screen.
There you go.
There it is.
Sharon, come on now.
That's
I like that better.
But yeah, in my leadership role, like there's just so much scarcity and people like, oh, it's job security if I don't play all my cards, you know? And I would come home at night and get on some of these, you know, COVID, end of 2021. So I'd get on all these virtual networking events. And I'm like, God, everybody's so willing to help and collaborate and just share their knowledge, and they're just so excited to like get newbies to their next step. And I was like, so I spend all my day in a scarcity mindset, and then I get to come home and just like be surrounded by abundance mindset people, and it like literally is what got me through my leadership role.
I bet.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. That's good to hear.
Yeah, for sure. I think that we're all in that same space. Like we want to continue to just like help people and inspire and empower, and especially women. That's a big deal to me for sure.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah. So how'd you get from your first couple to 10?
Again, not everything is not rainbows and butterflies. So we had the 2 stabilized. Everything was good after the eviction, you know, all of that with the property manager. And then in 2023, I had been learning about self-storage since 2021. I joined a mastermind for self-storage.
That's a whole other ball game.
So I promise it's a full circle moment.
Okay,
so 2023, we had the 2 properties. They're stabilized. We're happy about it. And then I thought, okay, I'm going to like blinders on self-storage. So had a partner from my mastermind. We underwrote 160 storage facilities. We put offers on quite a few of them, had a few under LOI, a few under contract. And of course, you know, as Pace says, buyers are liars, sellers are worse. We'd get actual financials or taxes or whatever, and it was all lies. So by the end of 2023, I owned no storage. All I had were my limited partnerships in multifamily, my 2 houses, and thought like, I have nothing to show for this year, and I kind of hate it, you know, like I was hoping for some like wins. I was really hoping to like get to a bigger, better place by the end of the year. So when that didn't happen, I sat back, reflected on, well, what am I doing well, and what could potentially I do better at? And I thought, I'm going to scale my midterm business. So yeah, we went from 2 at the end of 2023 to 10 by October of 2024. And like through arbitrage model. And then in October, I'm co-hosting one here in Chicago. Everything else is in Michigan. And it like, you know, having to take something that was a hobby into an actual business, getting on a property management system, setting up all of my like scope of works, all of my triggers and templates to make sure I wasn't personally writing every single message, check-in instructions, checkout instructions. Prior to that, it was a hobby job and I was doing all of that manually.
Yeah.
So getting on Hostfully, setting up all of that stuff and automating as much as I could. And then even with working with my stepdad and my cousin and then my best friend for install and design, just having those lines of communication for all of us to make sure that we all felt supported and connected and that we were all on the same path, you know, like casting the wide vision and having people buy into it was a big deal. And it worked, thankfully. But taking something that really truly was such a manual process for me, but I loved it. I owned 2 properties, to then be like, I can't do this for 10 properties. There's no way, there's no possibility of me being able to still do anything outside of run this business if I don't set myself up for success. So yeah, that was a huge pivot and mindset shift for me in 2024.
So great that you were able to.
Mindset is everything.
Yeah, that you were able
Christina,
to reflect and
when you're setting up those automatic pieces, can you share some of the programs or the apps or the automatic pieces that you used that really benefited you to grow and to be able to scale the way that you are?
Yeah. So
wait, while you do that, can you explain to the audience what arbitrage means? I
yes.
didn't pick up on that one.
That is a very, yes. So with arbitrage, those are corporate leases. So I don't own those. I didn't buy that real estate. I partnered with initially a larger property management group. And then also once I had a little bit of clout in the large property management group scene, then I started going to homeowners and doing arbitrage with actual people just versus big companies that understand corporate housing. And pitch them to say, I have a supply and demand issue. I started this business thinking I would house only traveling healthcare, mostly travel nurses, some travel physicians. And when it came down to it, that was not true. But these are the clients and the guests that I'm getting. I have this 14-month corporate lease on one of my properties. The other one, we've had all of these amazing engineers and all of that working in our local companies, keeping all of the business locally going. And I cannot come up with enough capital to buy enough real estate to continue to scale this business. But I do really want to help these people have furnished, comfortable housing while they're in town. And it worked, thankfully. So you talking about just giving yourself a deadline of like, put it on Airbnb and then get it booked and crap, now I have a week to furnish something. I literally did exactly that to myself. I had people in one of the properties we own. They were supposed to leave. Mom ended up having to stay in the hospital for a little bit longer, and that's why they were in town. And I had new guests moving in. And so I turned to my wife the week of Christmas and said, can I try to pitch this and can we design a furnished property in 9 days? And she looked at me like I was crazy. Because at this point I didn't even have
a little bit of crazy. It's all good.
A little bit of crazy. But like at that point, literally I had made no calls for arbitrage. I had no properties in mind and just was like, yeah, let's try it. And I was able to get a property, pitch it, get an accepted everything, get a lease, and have it furnished in 11 days. Not 9, but 11. Yeah. So that's arbitrage and just signing corporate leases. So somebody else.
I don't know what happened, but we're going to get this back on. Hold on.
Oh, that was odd.
I don't know what happened.
I am.
We're coming on back one at a time.
Slowly but surely. There it is.
That was weird. I don't know what happened. Kate dropped off. Anyway, let's get started. Say that again. So
I sign a corporate lease, and nobody yet has tried to ask for more money than what their long-term rental rate is in this situation. And if they ever do, fight it, because you are managing more active hospitality because you're doing 30+ day stays on top of you're handling everything. Even if there is something, you know, with these bigger property management groups, like if the furnace went out, that's on them, not me. But I'm still going to get that initial call, and I'm going to have to go move them into a hotel if it's the middle of winter, things like that, right? So like you are doing a very active role in this.
Right.
So hold them to the long-term rental rate, which is what we've done. And then as far as pricing goes, obviously every place is a little bit different, but kind of the metric that we ran with is for midterms, we would be at 2x what the long-term rental rate is. And 2x, not including just either our mortgage or the rent, but also utilities and Wi-Fi. So like our first arbitrage rent was $1,750. You add Wi-Fi's utility, and then, you know, paying all of my people, my cleaners, my property manager, all of that. So we work it out to worst case scenario about $2,000 a month, and we're renting those for $4,000. So, and staying occupied. Like I actually had a turn yesterday, same day. Some family moved out, and then new people moved in the same day. So yeah, that's arbitrage, is signing corporate leases with property management groups or homeowners, and then you paid them the long-term rental rate. Also, we get, in addition to the properties that we own and having just regular insurance on the house, we also have a specialized insurance through Proper. It is expensive, somewhere usually between $100 and like $140 per property per month, but there's so much protection, including bed bugs and things that normal insurance doesn't cover. So that has been
good.
Yeah, that it's just peace of mind. The numbers work, and it's better to just have that peace of mind. And then yeah, I forgot where we started, just because we went back to like what is arbitrage before we
Monique,
sorry,
question.
Monique. What was your question, Monique?
Yeah, I was asking about the what types of programs or apps or things that you use that you set up for automatic, so you're not manually running around doing everything on your own.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Team.
and with my team, right? So I cannot just do anything half-assed. Sorry, I hope I can swear. Right. Like even Steph and I were gonna go camping, and I wanted to buy the best tent. This was years ago. Okay, I spent like 3 weeks researching tents before I finally like bit the bullet. Right. So like when you think about now, I'm trying to like pick properties to, you know, arbitrage. Yeah. So when I went to what property management system I wanted to use, I went, you know, there's a few midterm rental experts, right? Jesse Vasquez is one of them. Vivian Yip is another. I first went to see what they're using. And then Vivian Yip at that point was really, really like owner-res. So I did their 14-day trial. I'll tell you, I didn't like it. I actually hated it. It looks almost like the MS-DOS version of property management system, if you ask me. With that said, it does have a lot of features, and if you can get past just like the look of it, I do think it's a good system. But ultimately, I went and watched a bunch of free demos from each of the property management system companies I was considering. Guesty, HostAway, Hostfully were my top three. I did choose Hostfully. I've been with them now for a year. I actually really, really like them. They have Monday through Friday office hours every single day. I have a customer success customer success manager. She reaches out every 2 weeks just to make sure everything's good. My first 60 days, I had a person that helped me set up all of my automated templates and triggers. And some of it is, you know, if the pre-arrival form and the rental conditions are signed by 14 days before they move in, then this thing goes out. And if it's not, then it doesn't go out, and it sends them a thing. Please send out, or please fill out your pre-arrival form, or please fill out your rental. So they really, truly held my hand, walked me through getting all of that set up. And it's actually different. There's like 16 sites that it integrates with, and Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking.com work differently than everything else. And so we actually had to set up rules or triggers 2 times, because the 13 had to be under one complex condition trigger, and then the 3 Airbnb, VRBO, and Booking had to be set up at completely separate. So I would have never known that. I would have had to watch a ton of videos, and instead I just had somebody there doing it for me or doing it with me, depending on if I'd said I would like to not have you do all of it, because if I ever run into a pickle, I would like to know how to do it. So yeah. Yeah. And I really, truly would say, you know, when we only had the 2 properties, it was fine that I was doing a lot of manual. And on Airbnb, you know, you can set up some automated things. It's nowhere near as complex or comprehensive, though. And the second I finally thought, if I'm turning this into a real business, I need to look like a better business and have a direct booking site and all of that. That was the biggest game changer for us.
And that one was called Hostly?
Hostfully. HOSTFULLY.
Okay. Hostfully.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, is that where you
great.
communicate with your team also, or just your property management team?
So you can actually set up different, they call them agents or agencies. So they can see when people book, when people move in, they can actually, you can set it up to give them as much or as little access as you want to. So it's my cousin and my stepdad. So they have full access to everything. And so my stepdad actually sometimes will read people trying to book their messages before I see it. Like, hey, did you see this? Like, excuse me, I got this, like, this is my part. You have your part, I'll do my part. Or if somebody has a problem, if somebody, we had a smoke detector that the battery ended up bleeding some battery acid. They tried to clean it out really well and like put a new battery in, and 2 days later it was beeping again. And they're like, hey, we tried to fix it. It didn't really work. And he saw that the same time I did. And he's like, I'm going to go over there this afternoon. Don't worry, I'll reach out to him. So it has been such a game changer. Just now I don't have to be the bottleneck, that they can see when people are moving in, when people are moving out. My cousin, my house cleaner, can handle everything on her end without me having to say, hey, people are moving out in 5 days or tomorrow or whatever it is. And she can just set her schedule up appropriately because she has access to the full calendar.
So you don't use Slack, or you don't use like Monday.com or anything. You strictly use this property management for all that communication.
I don't use Slack. I was going to say, I guess appropriately so, we just text each other if we need to. And the other thing, and I think that this is a big call out, so if you're taking notes, I now have my cousin take a video of the entire property and making sure she gets all the floors, all the walls, because if you ever did have to go, if you ever did have to go and put a claim in, that if you didn't have right before that guest moved in's condition of the property, sometimes they won't cover things. And so make sure, yep. And that was a big deal. We actually, of course, over the week of Christmas and New Year's, there was a leak in the kitchen sink at one of our properties, and they opted not to tell us. And then they moved out on the 23rd of December, I think it was. And my cousin, my housekeeper, went there first. I was actually in town because of the holidays, but she got there before I did, and she said, we have a problem. Like there's definitely something going on. All of our hardwood floors that are beautiful hardwood floors were buckled, and it was messy. Again, we're talking the good and the bad here, right? So I reached out. It was a corporate contract, so a guy who owns a business booked it for his contractors, and so I reached out to him first and said, hey, did they mention anything to you about this? And he's like, nothing, let me reach out. And he said, they did say that the last week they were there, that the floor felt a little squishy. And I was like, you should tell me that when it starts to feel squishy, not, after you move out.
Oh, wow.
And again, this is an arbitrage unit. So I had her take pictures and videos. I reached out to the homeowner, because this is one that I have a 2-year lease with the homeowner, and told him about it. And he lives in the same city, and said, you know what, let me go assess it myself, and I'll see what I can do to fix it. Don't do an insurance claim yet, because your insurance is going to contact mine, and let's just try to deal with it. And he is really handy. He went and bought, I didn't know these existed. He went and bought moisture wicking mats that were connected to something that literally pulled the water out of the hardwood.
I bet Monique knows all about that.
I bet she does.
Yeah.
I do.
Monique has
I own
Go ahead.
I own a water restoration company, Christina. So as you're talking about this, it's so familiar. And yes, there's mats that you can put down and fans that we connect to with tubes all over, and it pulls and sucks the water right out of the floors. Not all floors can be saved if it's not fast enough, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah, they were so cool. I was so impressed. I didn't know they existed, so now I do, and that's great that your company used them too. But yeah, so he went over, put those down for I think about 3 days, and fixed the sink. The sink where the hot and cold water connections. It was just loose. Like literally, it could have been a 2-minute fix if they just told us about it, and instead, I took the property offline for 10 days. All of that. So. Luckily, they look actually almost back to normal. If you knew about it, you'd probably like, oh, okay, here's like a little spot where it's separated. But it was pretty impressive how well it worked. But stuff like that, and even with the homeowner, I said, I understand I won't go through my regular insurance, but I also use damage waivers. And so this is another part of like the success of our business. I use Superhog. They actually just got bought out by a different company called Truly. Superhog so far has been fantastic. They do initial screens just to make sure somebody is who they say they are. You can also pay extra if you want them to check the sex offender list. So that's something for some people, depending on where your property is and, if they live close to kids and all of that. And so it's just another second layer of protection. I pay $11 per property a month. The guest pays $35, and it covers them for however long they stay. If they're there for a month or if they're there for a year, they only pay the $35. And it's $500, essentially no questions asked. You create the claim, they'll cover up to $500 without any issue. And then after that, they do want to see what's going on, pictures, videos, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so, I would like huge takeaway. Please take before and afters of every property if you're in the midterm, short term, probably even long term, obviously space, because you just never know.
Yeah.
Oh, Kate, I see your mouth moving, but I don't hear you.
I don't hear you. Yeah.
Oh no.
That's why Kate was so quiet. Now we know.
Just get really close to the camera.
I'll read it off.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think we might be able to hear you now, Kate. Try again. No, we can't.
Oh,
It like sees that your mouth's moving though, because it lights up your box.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that's so sad.
When you're talking to homeowners trying to, get a master lease from them, how does that conversation go?
Yeah.
How are you finding them? Are you just looking at regular long-term rental listings to find them?
My initial 2 arbitrages were with a property management group. And again, because she dropped. Hopefully she's getting her mic back on. I made a list of properties within within 5 miles of where my parents live, because there was a decent need for it there. There weren't a lot of even Airbnbs and definitely not a lot of midterms. Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes.
Because I couldn't figure out how to type my question either.
I'm glad you got your mic to work. That's good. But
yeah.
What did you say?
I said, finish what you're talking about, then I'll
ask. Okay. So I initially thought property management companies are going to understand what I'm going to pitch them better than homeowners initially. And so within 5 miles of my parents in areas that I would be willing to live, that's one of my things. Like if I don't feel safe living there, then I'm not going to buy or arbitrage a property in that area. And I made a list of 60 properties. And after making the list of 60, I thought I should probably tone this down a little bit. This can take me forever. And again, I only gave myself 9 days initially, right? Like this was like we got to go.
Oh yeah.
She's an ambitious girl.
Yeah.
So the thing I did is both the properties we own are single family, 3-bed, 1-bath houses. And I thought, what can't I offer at my properties that would be nice amenities? So 24-hour gyms was one of them. And then seasonal outdoor pools. Again, they're in Michigan. So seasonal outdoor pool. And I took my list from 60 to 8 and then literally just called the 8. And my first 6 calls were no's and my last 2 were yeses. And it was that I've been a nurse for almost 20 years. I've travel nursed. I told them the story about moving from Michigan to California. And I said, that is why we started the business. And now I have a supply and demand issue. I'm getting way more inquiries than I can handle on things that I own. And I can't buy houses fast enough. I would love to be able to help these people. So I'd love to partner with you. Sign a corporate lease. I will take care of all the hospitality communication, furnish the property. If it needs anything, like we will more than happily fix it. Like we've replaced so many medicine cabinets because they're the almond colored from the 70s in some of these properties. Everything else is updated except the like very old medicine cabinets sometimes. So we just like rip them out and put new ones in ourselves, you know? And so they actually appreciate us because we're making their properties better too. And so, yeah, the first one worked. And now I have 4 properties in that same complex, actually. So, yeah, like, and we even got keys to the 4th one before I even signed a lease. Like, that's how much they trust us now.
That's nice.
Yeah. And they're trying to steal my stepdad from me to be.
Of course.
Yeah. He's like, I'm happily retired. I do for her because I love her. And, you know, so yeah, but that's how it started was just, you know, pitching exactly. I have a supply and demand issue. Service is my love language. I've been a nurse for all these years. And if I can help people find the housing that they need in the area, I'd really love to do that.
Yeah.
Christina, what are your thoughts on like a luxury type of property for midterm? And just so you know, I have a property right now that we're waffling with, and it is a more on the high end on a lake, lots of land around it, and everything's brand new in it. The market kind of did the shift thing, and so we're thinking we might want to do the midterm rental, but it's a pretty high end home. So do you find that kind of to be something that's really in demand or at all, or is it really hard to kind of rent those type of things, or are you even aware of that?
Yeah, so I will tell you that the property that I co-host here in Chicago, new construction, I think they finished building it at end of 21 or beginning of 22. And it's 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, 4,000 square feet, 3 stories, huge backyard, you know, 2-car garage. And they like their primary bathroom toilet was $22,000.
What?
Like, yeah, it's got the lid opens when you walk up to it. There's a remote to it. There's bidet. Like it is the fanciest house I've ever seen in my life.
Dude, you're taking it. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. And I will tell you that I guess depending on
other things that I would spend $2,200 on. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, 22,000.
Oh yeah.
Crazy. Like, we spend $200 on toilets, so even $2,200 seems obnoxious, and then $22,000. So I will tell you that in that area, it's not downtown Chicago. It's like 15 minutes, maybe 12 minutes west of downtown. That for where the owner wants to be from a price point perspective, that like the people who have 3 1s or 2 1s renting for a third of the price, they're definitely getting the business over what I'm getting at this point. So I guess depending on like what your holding costs are and what you're willing to rent it for, like if it makes sense, absolutely. But I would definitely do an evaluation of the market. Furnish Finder, just like searching as somebody who needs housing based on your bed bath count in the location. It's a good spot to start. You can also do furnishfinder.com/stats and search your city or town. Okay. And it'll tell you how many people have searched in the area and how many properties they are, what they what people are mostly renting those properties out for. So that's a really nice option. And then same thing with Airbnb and VRBO, like act like you need furnished housing, put in, 30 plus days, don't do a weekend, do a 30 plus day stay and see what you get. And I would go further out a little bit because if somebody does do short-term rental, there's probably a lot of Swiss cheese, as they call it, right? A lot of weekend stays. So I'd maybe go 3, 4, 5 months out to try and get that month and really get a little bit more accurate depiction of the area.
Right.
That's really good pointers. I like that.
That's excellent information.
Did you find that the $22,000 one is renting though, in the sense of is it staying dormant more than the others? And if not, or if it is the funding that's coming in for it funding everything in the same context as the other ones are?
You're talking my property in Chicago versus the ones that are smaller?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually have a friend I met through a local RIA here in Chicago who just bought a 3 units, a house hack. And he furnished after talking to me, I influenced him that he should furnish his properties and turn them into midterms. And so he did. I sent him my whole list, room by room, like what he should buy, all of these different things. He used my Amazon list. I actually made it like a commission because he used so many of my links. Which yeah, right. I was like, oh, Amazon just sent me $30. Great, that sounds awesome. So he has 3 ones, both of them, and he had only initially put up one, and within it wasn't even 48 hours, and he had an insurance claim, not even just like a regular guest, an insurance claim reach out to him. They didn't even reach out to me. I was a little sad. We're in the same neighborhood. But yeah, they see, 3,200, and mine right now I have up for 8,000 because it's huge, and yeah, so again, if from a carrying cost and then just a market supply and demand, if it makes sense for where you want the numbers to be and all of that, definitely, I'd say go for it. Is it already furnished?
No, we need to do that. So It needs to get furnished.
Okay.
I'm kind of excited about doing that from scratch, although it's not my thing necessarily, but I know kind of what I want, but I don't know where to get all the stuff. So that's a whole nother gamut in itself. So I want your list, Christina.
Yeah. And again, you can, my best friend really did such a beautiful job. And so I need to actually add some of the things she has put into our properties. And one of the things I had to tell her is, I trust you. I love you. I trust you. Like, you got this. But she is a black, tan, and white girl. And I said, I don't really know how much white we can put in a property and actually have it, stick. And of course, the first property she furnished for us, she bought a dining room table and bought white chairs. And the first guest put a bag, I don't even know what bag, but it had like blue on the outside of the bag, and maybe it rained that day or something, but it left a blue mark on the seat. And I was just like, this is why I don't buy white chairs, So yeah. With that said, is it gorgeous? Yes. We just gotta maybe be careful on the chairs and the couches in lighter tones.
How much does it cost, Christina, if somebody wanted to get started and get just 1 3-bedroom, 1 bath and arbitrage it?
Yeah.
Or furnish it.
Or furnish
furnish and
all of it.
Yeah.
So our first arbitrage was a 2-2, and we were like just trying to move. So we didn't have time to like sit on Marketplace or go on Craigslist to try and find stuff. We found pallet liquidation stores. Those are gold mines. If you don't know about pallet liquidation stores or scratch and dent stores, those things, it's all brand new stuff for a third of the price sometimes, or 30 to 50% of the normal price, because somebody returns it and then it doesn't fit back in the box and they just bring it to a pallet liquidation store. So that was really helpful. Wayfair obviously was our best friend, and then we did do a lot of stuff on Amazon too. So our first arbitrage, we spent right around 8,000. But because we had to do it so quickly, we didn't have time to thrift. We didn't, we just had to order and get it furnished. As far as just initial startup costs, because we were signing a corporate lease, and I made very good friends quickly with the property manager, actually the regional manager. she waived the application fee for us. And so they don't do a security deposit. They do, I don't remember what they call their deposit that they take that's non-refundable, but I paid like $250 in a non-refundable deposit. She waived the application fee, and then I just paid the first month's rent. So $8,000 first month's rent, that like $250, and then we were hitting the ground running.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe a little easier for someone to get into that rather than buying their first time.
And honestly, it's kind of, in my mind, I'm grateful we took the leap of faith on the 2 houses we have. But moving into, it was my hometown market. That was where my first arbitrage was. My stepdad actually can walk there. He does sometimes. It's like a 5-minute walk from my parents. That it was a really nice, like, what does this look like 12 months out of the year? Like, maybe we have a lot of high season, but even we've stayed fully occupied. But there, as I got closer to January, I was like, oh God, like, I might have 2 properties vacant. And then of course they, like, very quickly last minute booked through insurance claims and things like that. But yeah, like it's kind of a nice trial run before you actually go buy something, thinking that your vision for it is going to be midterm or short-term rental. See what the market's like. Yeah.
Well, and even if they like it or not, they might think this sounds great, but once you get into it, people don't realize this, it's like, oh, real estate's so amazing and all this. They get in there, it's a lot of work. This ladies and I talked about it. It's a lot, and it's just not for the weak people. They might think it sounds so beautiful, but
yeah. Even our first private money lender being like, I see how much you just have to be so pleasant with all these humans that are asking things of you, and early check-ins and late checkouts. I don't want to do that. Like, that is definitely not my life, and it's stuff like that, even for her, like being able to come in as a private money lender and see that just based on our conversation and her being like, thank you for giving me the education that I need to know that's not the space I want to be in.
Right.
Yeah.
And private money lending sometimes is just is something somebody is just more going to be, it's going to be more their style because they can be more hands off if they choose to.
Yeah. Yeah, it's lazy money. It's great.
Yeah.
Great.
Lazy money, Sharon.
We just paid our guy $1,000. He gets $1,000 a month on $50,000 for every month. So he's very happy with his return on investment. So.
Yeah. That's amazing. What'd you say, Donna?
No, but I was just like, people just don't, there's so many different avenues in real estate. Just, I don't know how many there are out there, but I've never counted it, but there's just, somebody doesn't like this, there's like so many other avenues to go check out.
Yeah.
But they're all tough, like you were saying. It's not easy no matter which route you take.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, even to give a small story, when we had our first house, it was a gut rehab. Like, we were, this is how uneducated we were. Again, it took a lot of courage and bravery to do this. We essentially demolished a spec kitchen from the mid-1950s with a luxury vinyl plank mallet because we didn't have a sledgehammer yet. We just we got this, so let's go, and made ourselves work so much harder because we didn't just go to Home Depot to buy a freaking sledgehammer.
The right tools are essential, right?
Seriously. But even with that, we documented that entire process and that entire experience. And I think it was 3 weeks in, I went to a bunch of networking things and conferences, and people said, like, people will start just like throwing money at you if you show them what you're doing. Like, people are just going to come and say, like, how can I invest with you? Like, look at all the stuff you're doing. And I was like, that's not going to happen. Like, there's no way that's going to happen. 3 weeks into just like showing people demolishing a house, we had 2 sets of like couples reach out and be like, we have $60,000. What do you want to do? Like, literally.
On social media, do you mean? Is that how people were seeing what you were doing?
Yeah, we were posting my wife is, an artist. And so I always say that she's my best content. So she started saying, as we started these videos, like flip date. And so literally that's how every video started. Like, let us show us this progress that we're making. And we would put songs to it and like time lapse and do all this stuff. And literally 3 weeks later of like people watching us demolish a kitchen, demolish a bathroom. We had, people come try to throw $120,000 at us. And at this point, we're like pouring our entire heart and soul into one house. I was like, I don't have time for a second property. Like, I don't know. Now in hindsight, I should have put their money to work somewhere, but we're just so new.
Right.
Yeah.
Christina, before we go tonight, can you give our audience any tips, hints, advice if they're just getting started and they want to do similar things to what you're doing, arbitrage and midterm rentals and that type of thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, what'd you say, Moni?
And working with you, Christina.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. And so in full honesty and transparency, like very humble beginnings, like raised by a single mom in low-income housing. I'm the first master's degree in my family, second bachelor's degree in my family. Now my baby cousins are, starting to go to college and do all of that kind of stuff. But I didn't have people talking to me about personal finance or how to invest or how to do anything but just work a 9 to 5. And my why, or the thing that like really pushed me over the edge to pivot was burnout, like corporate healthcare burnout. And I think that it's so important to understand why you are doing something. Like if you're choosing to go into an asset class, midterm rentals, short-term rentals, storage, whatever that looks like make sure it actually is something you want to do, because sometimes you have to just have the discipline. The motivation's not always there. The discipline has to be the driving force. And being burnt out is what did that thing for me. Like I got to a point where I literally too many times said, like, what if I never wanted to walk into a hospital again? Like I've done this for all these years and I love service and all of that. So part of my why in the midterm rental space is service to people still. And so it's still very fulfilling and something that I can do and give back still, but also allow it to afford me options in life and not make me do a job or a profession that doesn't really serve me or fit me anymore. So that's definitely one of my biggest takeaways is like, make sure what you're doing gives you a purpose or there's a bigger why to it. It can't always just be about making money. It also, I feel like there has to be a little bit more to it. Sometimes it's the community and like making those connections and like building with other people. But definitely like really sit down and like figure out why you want to do something and not always just have it be because I want to be a millionaire. Like that's not always a good enough reason, and if that is your reason and that wakes you up every day and makes you work from 5 to 10 p.m., good for you. Like, I'm very proud of you for that. So that's one of my big things. As far as connecting with me, I'm so grateful that they have this nice little thing at the bottom. But yeah, my YouTube is at the Christina Stevens. So is my Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn too. I think my profile name there is Christina Stevens, CRNA, because I'm a nurse anesthetist. And yeah, Facebook, you can find me there too. I think I'm a little more hidden on Facebook, weirdly, but I'm definitely around. And if you do want links to corporate housing websites, how to furnish a property, I have all those things. So I'm more than happy to hand those out for free as well.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Christina, this was such a great episode. I've really enjoyed. I was taking notes while you were talking. So I've really enjoyed having you on.
Learn how to lie right here.
I love it.
I'm on my phone. I'm like trying to pretend I'm not texting, I swear.
Can I do one more little plug, I guess?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I just last week got to go with Tori Dunlap, who has the podcast and book Financial Feminist, and she also started a community called Her First 100K. I got to go to her NASDAQ bell ringing ceremony last week, and I've already read her book, and she's so amazing at teaching specifically women about financial literacy and just education, inspiring empowerment, which obviously I care about a lot. So much that I've decided I'm going to reread the book. I'm actually listening to it this time, but I'm going to do a book club on it. And so if anybody wants to join a financial feminist book club, our first meeting is on the 11th, so next Tuesday night. And we're just going to do the intro and the first chapter because there's homework in it, and it's all of that. But just again to empower financial literacy, specifically in women, and yeah. So if anybody is interested, I'm definitely open to chatting with you about that too.
What was her name and what was the name of the book again?
The book is Financial Feminist,
Okay.
and Tori Dunlap is the author.
Awesome.
So important, financial literacy, and they don't teach it in school. So
yeah, right, not at all. Yeah. No, this has been great, ladies. Thank you for inviting me. This is so good. And I love all of your energies. Like everybody brings like a fun little energy. I really loved it.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it.
yes, thank you. Thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
All right. See you next
Hello again.
Yay! Another successful one.